Hey, what's up guys? I want to do a video today that may be a long one. It's kind of a big subject with a lot of different avenues, so get comfortable, have a seat. If you're on the toilet, by all means, please stay seated. But what I wanted to cover is how much guns and ammo and magazines do you really need? And understand it's just my opinion, so my opinion is worth what you're paying to watch this video, right? So take it for what it's worth. But what I wanted to cover is we are on the cusp here in California of looks like it's going to be a big ruling that's 99.9% going to go in our favor. It's in front of Judge Benitez right now. He's heard everything. We're just waiting for his basically his answer to it. So the last time he gave us Freedom Week, which was a week of where you could buy standard capacity magazines. He's already ruled on this case. They appealed it. Now we got the Supreme Court decision on our side that backs exactly how he ruled on it. So it just depends on how the state plays it as far as appeals process, whatnot, if we get a window of time. So if we do, all I'd like to have before they appeal it is a day or a week or whatever to convert everything back as far as my ARs and stuff like that to a standard configuration. Because right now, like I said, I'm going to do this video and it applies a little differently to people in California as it does or in a free state. And understand that all I say is understand your state laws just so you know that you're going outside of them. If you decide to do that, you know, it's on you. Obviously, I ain't mad at you, right? I'm like Tupac. I ain't mad at you. Just understand though, if you're in the green or the red zone, and then go from there. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not here to give you legal advice, anything like that. But just, you know, be aware of your state laws. And if you know, choose to do what you do, no problems. Whatever, on you. So, if you're new to guns or building, you know, a collection or wondering what you need, or what you might need next, something like that, understand that there's different avenues. So if you have 0 guns right now, and you'd say, what should be my first purchase, right? I believe everybody's first purchase should be some sort of handgun, some basic handgun. Doesn't have to be anything extravagant. I pulled a, this is actually a Larry Vickers edition, Glock 19 with the RTF2 frame, Glock 19. So it's kind of a little special edition. They made like 2,500 of each one of these as they come out with different colors and stuff. Anyways, but the basics is just Glock 19. Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5, you know, whatever. M&P 2.0, HKVP9, CZP10C. I mean, there's tons of them. And I'm not singling out saying one's better than the other, going to work better than the other for you. But just some basic, reliable, nice handgun that has a track record. Most of those guns all do now. They've been out for a while. So anything that you can shoot reliably and conceal well. That's why I say Glock 19s are kind of hard to beat. There's guns out there now that are probably pretty equal to them, but this was kind of the gold standard for probably a couple decades before all these new guns came out that, you know, kind of rival it. So I wouldn't say there's anything that I would consider hands down better, but there is some guns that are equal to it now. You know, your standard Gen 3s, you know, you should be able to buy them somewhere between around $550, give or take 20 bucks, you know, depending on your area. Some place a little higher, some are lower, whatever. Somewhere around $550. I would say start with your basic handgun. You know, these have good capacities if you have standard magazines for them. They're 15 rounds. Standard band states, you know, just compliant of whatever your capacity limit is from 10 to 15 or, you know, like I said, wherever you're at. But basic handgun, Glock 19-ish size, doesn't have to be specifically a Glock 19. A good holster and a good belt. Hopefully your state has some sort of concealed CCW or CHL policy or whatever to go and get your concealed weapons permit. Here in California, it's kind of hit and miss, depending on counties, which is pretty crazy. Here where I live, and then the surrounding counties are pretty easy. You just basically, if you're not a felon, you know, you could own a handgun, you could pretty much get a permit. It's just a process, you know, it takes some money to do it. You know, you gotta pay for the permit, you gotta pay for the training, all that kind of stuff. Wait anywhere between 3 months and a year to get an answer, or you know, to get it in your hand. So I would say that's number one. If you're looking to start and be proficient, you know, if you're gonna carry a gun outside and to protect yourself, I feel it's your responsibility to be proficient with that firearm, right? If you're in the mall and something happens, you know, now I'm at risk if you just start blazing away and you have no idea how to shoot, do whatever. You may be trying to do the right thing, but the sole responsibility is you. Put some rounds through it, you know, be proficient with it, practice your draws, you know, practice shooting from concealment, you know, all that kind of stuff. Be proficient, take a class. I know when it comes to classes, everybody's like, I don't want to do that. I can buy another gun for what I pay for that class. True, or you could learn how to shoot the gun you have, right? No one wants to hear that because it's not as cool to spend $400 or $500 on a class when you could go buy another gun. But anyways, I'll get off my soapbox on that. But first thing would be some sort of good quality carry gun. As far as magazines go, handguns don't require a whole lot to stockpile. I mean, if you could get 5, that way you could have, say, 2 for the range that you train with all the time, you use and abuse, and you have 3 left, you know, for concealed carry. I mean, obviously test those out, but you know, 5 magazines. Understand that magazines are a disposable item. You know, they're made to wear out. Glocks are really good. I mean, you can change springs, stuff like that, rebuild them. You know, so wearing out a Glock mag, I can't say I've ever wore a magazine out. I've wore some springs out that got weak over time, and I threw a, you know, wolf spring in it, and it was back to normal. So as long as you don't lose them, you know, 5 is pretty good. As far as how much ammunition to have on hand, I would say try to get minimum 500 rounds put away. Put in your closet, put in your safe, forget about it. So you have 500 rounds that doesn't count towards your training, your practice, or your carry ammo. And it don't have to be 500 rounds of hollow points. Even better if it is, if you can afford it, but I know hollow point ammunition is really expensive now. It's about $1 a round, you know, at most places. So it doesn't have to be that. You just want to have a stockpile that you forget about, that you don't, it doesn't count in what you have to take to the range. And then training ammo, obviously, however, depending on how much you train. If you shoot once a month, if you shoot, you know, once every 6 months, you know, however you do it, you know, have about a year surplus, because with COVID, we've seen ammo was gone for almost a year, as far as like even walking in and really buying it. And when you did find it, it was a really, really inflated price. We're starting to see it level off. It's not pre-pandemic prices yet, and I don't think it ever will be again. If you go back to my channel, it's funny because I had a video from January 2020, and I was saying, hey, this is the best time. This is when you need to stock up. Buy ammo, buy mags, buy anything you can. This is the best days, you know, that we're going to see. And then by March, you know, we were locked down. So it wasn't that I was Nostradamus. It was just I seen trends, you know, and it was low during the, you know, not to get political, but during the Trump era, everybody kind of, I think, relaxed, like, oh, okay, they're not going to take guns, they're not going to ban this, even though more stuff really got banned during Trump than, you know, the previous administration, you know. But everybody kind of relaxed and was like, okay, I'm going to rush out and buy 5,000 rounds of ammo. I don't have to buy 10 guns. I don't, you know, whatever. So the prices were really, really low. Inventory was way up. Dealers were giving rebates, all this kind of stuff, just to get product moved. It was a great time. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll see those times again. At least not that cheap. We've seen this, it seemed to have stabilized. Inventory's kind of back. Prices are still elevated, but they're not what they were, you know, 6 months ago or a year ago. So take it for what it is. If you can afford to buy some now, you know, maybe buy a couple boxes every paycheck or something, just, you know, just do whatever you can do to get some, but obviously don't max out a credit card just to go buy some ammo, you know. But that was my recommendation. Gun, 5 mags, 500 rounds put away, and then about a year's supply of what you train with. So if you shoot 100 rounds a month, you know, that's about 1,200 rounds, you know, to shoot with, not including your 500. And like I said, that's just a basic round number. I would feel comfortable with a little more, but you know, we all have different comfort levels. You know, that's why some people can carry a J-frame revolver with 5 rounds and feel good with it, because that's our training. So that's their comfort level. You know, 5 rounds of 38 special. They're good with it. I like to have about 15 rounds in a gun that I carry, my carry gun. And I usually carry a spare mag just for malfunction purposes, not so much that I think I would need the ammunition over 15 rounds. It's always nice to have, but if I have a, you know, malfunction, I can strip that magazine and have a second magazine to put back in the gun if I need to. So that's kind of covers handguns. And I'll cover another caveat after all this of what you should have that would change it up a little bit. The next purchase I would make if I was starting off is some sort of light caliber, higher capacity rifle. Usually that fits into an AR-15, but there's a bunch of variants now. You know, you have an AK, you can have a Galil, a Tavor, what's the new, the Hellion from Springfield. Something reliable, something that can accept, you know, double stack magazine in a caliber that's common. I guess put it that way. 7.62 by 39, 223, 5.56, even I guess 5.4 by 39. It's a great round. It's just kind of hard to find now after the 7.6 importation ban. So anything Russian based, just know it's getting tougher and tougher and more expensive to get. So you know, you might want to think about that. If you have everything else covered, I mean, it is a great round, but it is pricey and hard to get. So this is very basic. This is just a Palmetto's upper, dissipator upper, a used GI carry handle, a buttstock, a CMMG buttstock kit, arrow lower with arrow parts in it, you know, to build, and very, very basic. This, I have a light set up for this. It's going to go on. It's going to mount right here at the A2 front sight post, and it'll have a string light on it. My reasoning on that is anything that's considered a fighting rifle or something you'd have to use for defense or home defense, what have you, is it needs to have a light. Some people think that's like tactical and whatever. Those people just haven't, I don't want to say they're ignorant to the fact of it, but if you've taken any kind of low light training, anything like that, it's a must. I mean, there's no other way around it. You have to ID your target. You have to see what you're doing, and you can't, you know, utilize a handheld light very well. I mean, I guess it's possible, but it's really not the best solution when it comes to a rifle. So I would say you don't have to have an optic, but you do have to have a light. Optics are nice, you know, don't get me wrong, but carry handles work. I mean, they work. Iron sights worked until whatever, 96, 97, something like that, whenever the Army adopted the CCO or the M68s. So these work. It's cheap. Carry handles are getting more expensive for the actual GI ones lately, but I think Palmetto's makes a reproduction style of their brand. I haven't used one, so I don't know how good it is, but I know the GI ones are solid. They're, you know, you can find them 70, 80 bucks or something like that for an A2 carry handle. Just some kind of reliable sight. It doesn't have to be a carry handle, just some kind of reliable fixed sight if you're not running an optic, or, you know, a nice flip down if you are going to run a red dot, or, you know, whatever kind of optic. But you don't have to spend the money if you don't have it at the time. As far as rifles go, I would say I like a minimum of 10 magazines per rifle. 10 is just kind of a basic round number. Same thing, you can train with 2 or 3, keep you 6 or 7, you know, in a nice primo condition that's not full of dirt and bent lips and stuff from training with it. So you have some to load up. Ammunition, I would say more ammunition for a rifle. If it ever came down to, you know, whatever, fill in the scenario, you know, I mean, we're probably the closest to World War III than we have been since the 80s. So, you know, it's not that it's super far-fetched now, but any kind of disaster, right? Even if we had major earthquake or major floods like Katrina, you know, stuff like that. If you're defending your home from random, I guess, riot crowds, whatever you want to say, hordes of people, hordes of zombies, whatever, your rifle's going to be your primary at that point. Other than that, it definitely is a far-fetched situation. It's almost a breakdown of society where a rifle comes into play. So the odds of that happening are definitely, I think, a whole lot less than where you might use a handgun. Because if you carry a handgun with you all the time, with the rise of crime and everything going on, those percentages are going up, whether we like it or not. Violent crime is going up, gun crime is going up, and not by law-abiding citizens. Don't get me wrong. It's not people who go out, do a background check, but buy it legally, follow the law, whatever. That's not the people that's driving the violent crime up. It's people who buy stolen guns or steal guns or gang members, drug crimes, whatever. Not to go off on that tangent, but I'd say 10 rounds or 10 magazines minimum if you can afford more. And magazines are still cheap, guys. I don't know if you've priced them lately, but they're not really any more expensive than they were in January of 2020. Lanbos Armory, Lanbos Armory. Check those guys out. They are usually cheaper than anywhere else that even have sale prices. I don't know why they don't get talked about. They must not pay money out to YouTubers, the big YouTubers or whatever, to sponsor their channel or whatever. But they are the cheapest I've found than anywhere. Standard magazines like these, just Duramags, I think are on there for like $10.40 free shipping right now. So $10.40 a piece, and they don't charge the king's dues when you check out. And with free shipping, you're paying $10.50 a magazine to your door. Nowhere cheaper. I think Magpul mags or Gen 3 Coyote Tans on there were less than $11 a piece. They do charge shipping on those, and I think they have a flat rate, $10 for shipping. So you can order 1, you can order 10, you can order 20, whatever. If it is a flat rate item, they'll say in the comments if it's flat rate. So check them out if you're looking to stock up and you're not wanting to spend a ton. I know like Gun Mag Warehouse usually has a good supply, but Lambos is always cheaper, always by 15-20% usually. So check them out. I can't recommend enough. They're a great service. I've ordered from them a lot. They ship out within 2 or 3 days, and usually it's FedEx they ship with, so you usually get like FedEx 2-day. So great outfit. Anyways, 10 mags. Ammo. Ooh, I would say a minimum of 1,000 rounds if you can afford it. And this is all budgetary restraints. Everybody has different budgets. 1,000 rounds might not be doable. If you can put 200 rounds away, if that's what you can afford to do, and forget about, that's not your training ammo, that's not your range ammo, whatever. If you can afford 200, put 200 away. That's a start. And if you can afford every paycheck, buy a box or two of 20, to add to it, do it. Now ammos came down and seem to level off right now. There could be the next panic, and then it goes up, for whatever reason. Gun buyers are kind of weird about panics. They seem to be on edge on certain things, and they drive the price up as supply goes down. But right now we're seeing a decent supply of ammunition. So I would say 1,000 if you can do it, and then same thing, a year of whatever you shoot. If you shoot 40 rounds when you go to the range, and a lot of times rifles, depending on where you're at, if you got an indoor range, a lot of them don't allow rifles. So you probably shoot your rifle less, depending on where you live. If you just go to outdoor range all the time, you might shoot it equally or even more than your handgun, whatever. But figure a year if you can swing it for your training shooting ammo. Like I said, if you shoot 100 rounds a month, that's 1,200 rounds. 1,200 rounds and 1,000 put away. That you got a good start there. You can always build on it from there, or you can start at 200 and build up. But 10 mags, you're looking at, if you go to Lambos, you can literally buy those for, it'd be about 110, 120 bucks. You could have 10 Duramags shipped to your house, and you're good to go. Next thing I'd say, and these have kind of fell out of popular culture lately, but a shotgun. And it don't have to be this shotgun, because you're gonna have a hard time even finding one of these. This is a Beretta 1301. I believe it's probably the finest semi-automatic shotgun that's currently being produced, even over the M4, the infamous, or the famous M4, I guess not infamous, famous M4 Benelli. Great shotgun, but you don't need this. A basic pump shotgun. And I would say my favorite platform is a Remington 870. But unfortunately, Remington hasn't been, even before they went out of business, I don't have no idea what the new place is doing, the Rim Arms or whatever that bought them. But if you can't find an 870 that was made prior to like 98 or so, I wouldn't recommend it. I got one from about 2003, and I had to change the barrel on it. I ended up finding an old Wingmaster barrel, cut it down, you know, to 18.5 inches or whatever, Cerakoted it and all that, put it back together. Works fine now. But I put the machined extractor in, all that kind of stuff. But it would just, you'd shoot around, especially cheap, low brass stuff, and it would hang up so bad you'd have to mortar on the ground to get it out of the chamber. I mean, it was absolute trash. And that wasn't a uncommon story for Remington pretty much till they went out of business. I don't know how they could make that shotgun for 60, 70 years and then all of a sudden not be able to, produce one that would work. So pre-1998 or so, if you can find one, used somewhere, 870 is an awesome platform. A lot of upgrades for it. If you can't, a Mossberg 500. I got a few of them, great shotguns. They work every time I pull the trigger. They're kind of clunky, you know, like the fit of them, the handguard and stuff. They don't feel as refined as an 870, but they run. If you have an 870 that fits perfect but doesn't run, it's garbage, you know. So Mossberg 500 if you're, you know, kind of short on the budget. Mossberg 590 if you got, you know, a little more to spend. I have a 930 SPX. It runs good. I put some Oregon 3-gun parts in and stuff. It runs good. It probably, if I had, I don't know, there's just something about that gun that doesn't make me trust it 110%. It's got a real low round count before it needs to be cleaned and stuff like that. So if I was on a budget, I would definitely take a 590 over it, maybe even a 500. I would wait till I could step into something semi-auto. They just came out with a new A300 too. Looks like it's gonna retail for just under $1,000. I would wait till I could step into something like that in a semi-auto before I went semi-auto. I would definitely recommend a cheap pump over a cheap semi-auto, I guess is what you'd say. But if you got the money, you know, and you find one of these are, I think, top of the food chain as far as it comes to shotguns. Shotguns are really versatile just because you can shoot slugs, you can shoot buckshot, you can shoot birdshot, you know, all different sizes of buckshot. You can bird hunt with them, you know, you can deer hunt with them. Yeah. So it's a great survivalist gun, and 12 gauges are devastating up close, especially with, like, if you take buckshot, it's like a 32 caliber pellet, 32, 33, whatever it is, but there's usually 9 of them, some have 8, whatever. 9 of them in there, and they're traveling out at, you know, 12, 13, 1400 foot a second, depending on the loading you got. So if you take 1300 foot a second, that's your basic 9mm. You know, you're in 9mm range as far as that goes. So it's like hitting somebody with 9 9mm rounds all at one time. You know, so why they kind of fell out of popular culture and the tactical crowd, I don't know. I mean, AR is more controllable. You can put more rounds on target a lot faster. But if you can get kind of one round of this, it's, you know, obviously 223s travel a whole lot faster. So they, you know, they do have more impact per round, but you're shooting 9 pellets at a time if you run buckshot. If you're shooting slug, you're shooting a 1 ounce hunk of lead, you know, at someone at 1300 foot a second or whatever. In a house, devastating. But, you know, you got overpenetration, stuff like that. You know, there's concerns. Depends on where you live. You live in an apartment, you know, all that kind of stuff factors in. But recommend, if you got the handgun base covered, the your standard or capacity or small caliber semi-auto rifle, a shotgun would be a next wise choice in my personal opinion. And like I said, it doesn't have to be this. It could be, you know, a Mossberg 500 or even a Maverick 88. You know, I have one of those. Great shotguns. I actually prefer the safety placement on the Maverick than I do with the safety on the 500s that are on the back right here on the receiver. So shotgun, what should you have in shotgun? My shotguns, I don't shoot a whole lot. So 250 rounds of buckshot, you know, put away, and then when I shoot, I usually shoot birdshot. You know, I'll shoot buckshot here and there, especially when I'm testing a new load or something out on a shotgun, semi-auto, make sure it's running. But if you had 250 rounds of, you know, nice buckshot, put away maybe 100 rounds of slugs, something like that, and then birdshot. Birdshot was super cheap. It's still not bad. It's still cheaper than buckshot to shoot, stuff like that. I remember I used to get it at Walmart for like 20. It used to be $20 for 100 rounds of the Federal birdshot, and it went to like 24. And I haven't seen it lately, so I don't know if they stopped carrying it or I just hadn't looked for it. Then again, I haven't walked into Walmart in probably 2 years, so I don't know. Maybe they have it back now. but definitely a great option because it's so versatile. Shotgun is definitely a great add to anybody's collection if it's not your only gun. But that's my thoughts on a 12 gauge. I think they're still viable, depending on where you live. You know, like I said, over penetration issues and stuff. But for home defense, awesome setup. So if you get those covered, and you're looking for something a little more, you want to have something that'll reach out and touch someone a little harder. And like I said, this is only a budget allows. It's kind of a luxury. It's not a necessity. But if you're looking for something really premium, this is a LMT MWS 308. This thing is awesome. And I got a screaming deal at a gun shop that had this on the wall, and it was on clearance. It was, I guess, their last one. And this is a Defender, and it came with the SOP mod stock without the battery without battery compartments in it. It actually had a mold in there. Sorry, train's going by. And I guess they changed it to the standard M4 style stock, and it had a single stage trigger in it, so I ended up putting a LaRue MBT 2-stage in it, and it was $19.99, and they had it on clearance for $300 off. So it was $16.99 for an NWS, and really didn't have the money at the time, but I was like, man, I can't pass that up. That's just unheard of, you know. Now these things are going secondhand. The Defenders are, you know, way above that, you know. And they're hard to get. LMTs usually got 6 months to a year back order on stuff, all that kind of, you know, whatever. They're hard to get. They're quality AR-10. There's a lot of AR-10 stuff you really got to watch when you put it together. They don't, if you're building one, I learned, like I said, if you look at my other channels or other videos on my channel, I learned that nothing interchanges, right? There's no standard to a AR-10. So you have to stay with whoever you started the lower with, you pretty much have to stay with at least the upper. And then you kind of go from there. Some of the stuff interchanges as far as the bolt carrier groups and the barrels, whatnot. There's like DPMS, Armalite pattern. Anyways, real confusing stuff, something you have to research before you build one. But it's doable. It's not like impossible. It just requires more research than building an AR-15. But this is an NWS, LMT MWS and 308, 16-inch chrome line barrel. Accurate gun with hand loads. It'll shoot even with this 10 power scope. I can cherry pick a group at 1 inch, but it's probably about 1.2 average, something like that. Still really accurate gun. You're shooting a big bullet, and I've shot it out to 770 yards where we go up and shoot long range at, and you know, you hit a 12-inch by 18-inch steel target with fairly reliable hits on target at 770. So that'll really reach you out. Once again, you see light on there. This has an offset RMR for up close, and then a 2-10 Vortex PST Viper scope, and Magpul bipod. Anyways, big money purchase, not necessary. If you got it though, and you got everything else, and you just want something to kind of finish off the collection, it's a great rifle. Another thing is, here's a M1A Scout. You can see, follow the trend there. It's got a light on it. GI stock, put GI innards in it. It's got GI extractor, ejector, hammer, trigger, gas key. Anyways, it's got an SCI muzzle brake on it. But this is a cool option, and when I was buying these in 2018, 2019, they were all over the local forums used, and for some reason, M1As come up all the time used. And it's kind of a bad sign a lot of times that, you know, if you see something that's a ton of used, you know, you're like, why is there so many used ones on there? And M1As have you either love them or you hate them. I haven't had any issues. I don't have a huge round count on any particular one of them, but I may have about 800 rounds maximum through my standard GI 22-inch gun. And it's given me 0 issues. I had one with a bad mag spring that I had a stoppage, change the spring. It's never given me another issue. I did do the GI stuff in it that was the common breakage. If you look on the forums and stuff, seems like the repetitive thing that if people did have problems was extractor breaking and hammer breaking. So I replaced that all with like actual GI parts, and they were not MIM. They were you know, like the old school machined, you know, forged parts, whatever. just higher quality than what Springfield, I guess, was putting in it at the time. But the thing runs. I mean, it runs, it shoots, ejects, it's fairly accurate. I've scoped them before, and the best I've ever gotten with hand loads was a 1.2 inch group, which averaged probably a 1.5 inch group most of the time through my full-size standard GI. And I can't shoot that good with iron sights. So once I took the scope off, I shoot a good day maybe three on my way, 3-inch group at 100 yards iron sight. More accurate, I shoot about 4-inch. I'd probably pull off a 4-inch group, any given time, right there on count. You can say, hey, shoot one. I probably manage a 4-inch group, but that's about the extent of my ability with iron sights, consistently. So if a gun shoots, 1.5, yeah, it'd be great if it shot 1/2 inch, but it wouldn't make any difference with me shooting at irons, So it's a cool gun, especially if you're in a restricted state. There's no features on it, no pistol grip, no adjustable stock, all that kind of stuff. So it's a good, reliable battle rifle type platform in a restricted state. If you're not restricted, and you're wanting to mount an optic, AR-10 is the way to go. I mean, I love these things, but I understand what they are. They're an iron sight battle rifle. They run, they go bang when you pull the trigger. You're getting a 150 grain projectile down range. A lot of energy, but it's not a precision rifle. It was never meant to be a precision rifle. So it's hard to judge when you say like that NWS will shoot an inch group and shoot it reliable all day long. That's a super reliable setup in a 308 package. Will it outshoot this gun? Yeah, any day of the week, twice on Sunday. Are these worth the price of entry now? New, I wouldn't pay $1,600-1,700 for one. I wouldn't. Used on a forum, $950. I got you on that, But if you catch a deal on one, is what I'm saying. They're worth, what they're worth to whoever's going to buy them. Some people might pay $2,000 for them, during the panic. But I want one. Cool. Not to downplay that, but I think if you're just doing a collection, there's cheaper options out there, I guess, that'll get stuff done depending on your requirements. Like I said, if you want to optic on a 308, I would look elsewhere. There's easier ways to mount optics on other platforms, other style guns. So with that being said, same thing with the battle rifle. I'd go 10 magazines. The ammunition, 308 is expensive. I hand load everything, so it cuts my cost down a little bit, but it's still, you're buying a lot of lead. Bullets are expensive. Brass is expensive to buy, secondhand or once fire or whatever. Primer's expensive. It takes a lot of powder. Powder's expensive. So it's harder to stockpile a bunch of ammunition for a 308. So, if you could get 300-400 rounds of 308, and put it away, and then, again, a year of whatever you shoot it, which I shoot 308 here and there. I shoot a decent amount of it, I guess, through different guns and stuff a year. So I try to put, a year of what I shoot away, or have a year on hand, and then put away what I can. So, and that, like I said, that's an extreme. That's if you guys, have the budget to do it. I wouldn't feel obligated if you don't to rush out and like I said, put it on a credit card or something like that. Don't do that, guys. Just do what you can and go from there. What I want to talk about, another kind of road as far as how much guns and ammo you need, is it depends on how old are you. Do you have kids? How many kids do you have? Are your kids into shooting? If you have grown kids, are they into firearms? Would they even want firearms? As far as if you pass away, would they even want your collection, or would it just get sold to the highest bidder somewhere? Understand, I have a young son, so my thought process is, even with the court rulings going the way we go, Supreme Court on our side, I don't think he'll be able to buy an AR-15 in 15, 20 years, whatever, however old he'll have to be at that point, 25, 30, whatever. I don't think he'll be able to buy it. That's just, I'm planning that he won't. And I plan on having him a setup, that way something happens to me, he can have them all, obviously. But when he turns of legal age, or whatever that it is that he can do them, get them, whatever, he's got that already. He don't have to worry about that, or he don't have to pay because they ban the manufacture of them in 2027 or something, you know, and all of a sudden they're just like when the bans went into effect before the pre-ban era of 94. If you had to buy pre-94 guns, you're paying bank for them. I mean, back then they were $2,500, 1995 money, you know, super expensive. And they were the same gun you could buy for $1,000. It just could legally have the features, you know, it could have a flash suppressor, threaded barrel, bayonet lug, you know, all the stuff from the federal assault weapons ban. So I would say plan for that. You know, if you have kids that you think would be interested, maybe young kids you don't know yet, whatever, if you can buy them fairly cheap now to pass them on later, or for their whatever birthday they can legally have them, whatever, just so they'll have access to them. You know, if they want them, they got them. If they don't, you know, cool, whatever. My kid turns out they don't want to shoot. It is what it is. You know, I'm not sweating it. But if he does, he has it. You know, he don't have to go pay either super high extortion fees or just be banned altogether from buying them. So that's another thing to think about. Same thing with ammo. Ammo's just going to probably keep getting higher. You know, as raw materials get higher, ammo's got to get higher. You know, because you're using brass, using copper, using lead. All that's going up, 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 and you know, if they end up start using it in batteries or something, you know, all of a sudden copper's going to be insane, or brass is going to be insane, whatever scenario plays out. But now I'd say it's kind of leveled out. The chaos is kind of at a flat point, and now we're just waiting. Is it going to go down or is it going to go up? So you can kind of take the gamble now, and you know, buy into some stuff if you have the money, or wait and hopefully it drops, or the next thing comes around, next ban, next panic, next whatever, and it goes up and you kind of miss the opportunity. So that's what I want to cover, guys. Like I said, it's just my opinion, but I would start out with a pistol if you don't have nothing. Get a pistol you can conceal carry. Get your concealed carry license. Train. Get some ammo to train. Have some defense ammo. Get some spare magazines. Get those bases covered, and then go from there. Because that's going to be the thing that's going to maybe save your life more than anything one day, is to have a pistol and have it on you and be proficient with it. It could save your life, your family's life, you know, one day. I'm a big advocate of concealed carry. I think anybody that could legally do it should be doing it. I think the crime would be a lot lower if legal gun owners carried guns, you know, non-felons. It was a report I read one time that said CCW holders were 8 times less likely to commit a crime than a law enforcement officer. You know, that's the facts they don't want to tell you. Is if you go through all the trouble of, you know, like I said, doing the training, doing the fees, doing the fingerprints, doing whatever you got to do, that means you're dedicated to that you're not going to go out and do something wrong because you're doing the right thing just to carry your gun, when you could just as easily put it in a holster. And it fits in your holster and your belt just the same, whether you have a CCW or whether you don't. But you took the time to do all that, to be a legal, law-abiding citizen. So I think anybody who's able to carry a gun should be carrying a gun. Like I said, for the protection of themselves, their family, you know, their children, whatever. I'm not saying you're there, need to protect anybody else, but you know, that's all on the individual, but you should have it to protect yourself and your family. So I'll wrap it up there, guys. I know it's long-winded. I like to ramble, sorry, but just wanted to cover that for you. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you may learn some things, or just at least get my opinion on, you know, what I think. And like I said, it's worth what you paid for it. So thanks for hanging in there, guys. See you in the next video.